Density matrix demystified. Curious about how to calculate a density matrix? We've been talking an awful lot about them. Or what to expect? Well, this problem is just for you. Here we see that they're graphed in a research paper, so their applications are pretty much everywhere. Alright, so this is problem 12.7, the second to last one in this chapter. And the goal here is to construct the density matrix for an electron that is either in the state spin up along x with probability 1/3, or in spin down along y with probability 2/3. Now again, mixed states, not superpositions. If we were a superposition of spin along x, that would be one state in a linear combination. But since we have spin along x and y, this makes it a mixed state. And then for B, we want to find what is the expectation value for Sy for an electron in this part A density matrix. So this is a pretty quick problem, so we'll just start running through it. The reason why we care is because this problem is important because it demonstrates the practical application of the density matrix in quantum mechanics. It showcases how mixed states in quantum mechanics can be represented mathematically, allowing us for calculations of expectation values in systems with probabilistic outcomes. This formalism is crucial for understanding and predicting the behavior of quantum states in real-world scenarios, kind of like the one shown in the cover image, where pure states are often not achievable due to environmental interactions or measurement limitations. So this challenge here is what happens with the system behavior as these 1/3, 2/3 probabilities start changing. How do we even get them in the first place? Things like that. That being said, this problem's straightforward and pretty much everything's in the video, but if you want the PDF for your collection, comment for it, or you can get it in the description below by going through Patreon, and you'll be good to go. Before we jump into today's topic, you should know that my goal is to break down complex physics concepts using exercises from top books. If that sounds like something you'd enjoy, hit the subscribe button and join us in exploring the universe. Now into the density. So step one, pretty straightforward here. In order to construct the matrix, as we saw with the properties in last question, we need to account for each state's contribution. So starting from equation 12.28, where we had the operator here, we know that with two states, we're summing from k equal 1 to 2 of the probability of each state with the given state. So probability 1, psi 1, psi 1, probability 2, psi 2, psi 2. Pretty easy. Now in the summation, K1 represents the spin up along the x-axis with the 1/3 probability, all color-coded to blue, while K2 demonstrates the spin down state along the y-axis with 2/3 probability, all color-coded in green. Now let's see how to actually construct these two things together. So starting from this, we need to go back and get our old friends from chapter 4 with the spin states. So as you see, if the state 1 represents spin up in the x and state 2 represents spin down in the y, we see that just keeping our notation clean and then substituting in equations for x and y respectively, where we found them or where they were referenced, we're good to go. Now as such, we see that the normalization factors, there's two of them, so we square them. The probability was 1/3 for blue, and then taking the conjugate transpose on this column vector turns it to a row vector. Run it through the same thing, except now you have 2/3 for the probability. Conjugate transpose on this column vector turns it to a row vector with the conjugate. All right, you see how it all makes up. Now multiplying row to column in each of these leads to the matrix here, 2 by 2, 2 by 2 here. You can see all the algebra there. And now we see that this boils down to all ones, and then 1/3, 1/2 leads to 1/6, easy enough. Now instead of canceling these 2's out like we would want to do, because we have to add them together, keeping them in base or under 6 is easier. So we get 2/6 here, and we see what we simplify to. Be very careful with these i's, plus or minus. We know that I squared is -1, so the negatives cancel, and we're good to go. Just kind of a pain to keep up with at some points. Now after that, distribute the constants, you're good to go. You see that you get a whole bunch of 6's in here, and yes, we'll factor that out later. But until then, let's go ahead and clean this up. All right, so add them together component-wise, easy enough. We see that we get all our terms here, and now we can reduce them. Now keep in mind that we want to keep it all together like this because of the properties that we had seen previously. We know that this is beneficial to us to keep it all in one sitting, because especially to find the expectation value, we're going to need the trace. So let's go ahead and, although this wasn't in the question, one of my old professors always said, look, you have these properties here, you may as well use them as checks. So let's go ahead and start with that. Now from 12.30, we know that the sum of probabilities has to be 1. And that leads us to two probabilities, P1, P2, which is 1/3, 2/3. They add together to 3/3, so that gives us 1, so we can check that off. Now, is this Hermitian? So we take the dagger, conjugate flip, we see that negative up here, two negatives turn that to a positive, that's positive there. Negative positive turns to a negative, negative there, so we're good to go. Check off. And then, of course, we know that the trace needs to equal 1 as well. So if we look at the trace of this matrix, 1/2, 1/2, we see the elements there that we need. 1/2, 1/2, that adds to 1, and we're good to go. We have just found the density matrix. Not too bad. What do you think about this? Drop a comment below with your thoughts. And now let's get on to part 2 and wrap this question up. All right, so to find the expectation value of SY, let's revisit chapter 4 where we saw what SY as the operator was in matrix form. Now again, this came from the Pauli matrices from equation 4.147. Pretty cool how they keep coming back. And by the way, little foreshadowing, the Pauli matrices are coming back next question. So to find the expectation value then, we need to employ equation 12.33 where we can find the trace of the rho times the operator here, the spin operator, and then we're good to go. So trace it up, and then we see that we need to multiply these two things together, color code it accordingly. H bar over 2 is just a constant, so we can pull that out since it's going to be added to every term. Easy enough. Now the matrix multiplication here, row to column, row to column, row to column, row to column. It takes up a whole lot of space, so just be careful. As you see with zeros marqueed everywhere, it simplifies pretty quick. So once we're there, realize that in the 1-1 position and 2-2 position, we have to distribute i's in there. This one we have to distribute a negative I. So be careful when you do that because negative signs go amiss with dealing with complex numbers, especially negative ones, so just be aware of that. So simplifying this up then, we have one matrix here, and now we see we distributed the i's here accordingly. The two negatives there made a positive, but now we have a square. And then we have I and I squared here. Let's go ahead and simplify them down. This is what we result to. Not too big of a deal. We just have to be careful with the algebra. Those negative signs are pesky. Once we do that, then the trace is just adding up the 1-1 position and the 2-2 position, or the main diagonal. And we see that that's what we have here. So we lose the trace, but we just add up the two positions that we need. Well, with that being a plus sign, we don't need to distribute any negatives. So this I and this I over 6, as we see here, cancel, cancel. We're left with negative 1/3 minus 1/3, gives us negative 2/3. The 2 and 2 cancel, leaving us with h bar over 3, negative. Therefore, our expectation value, which is just the trace, which is remarkably easy to get versus some of the other integrals that we've had to do for these things, very, very easy. The matrix formalism comes again and makes our life very easy. So that was a pretty fun application and I think a much needed one. Alright, pretty quick video. So if this video got you thinking, imagine what's coming next. Subscribe and join our community for weekly insights into the world of physics. There's so much more to uncover and I'd love to have you along for the journey. I also want to take a moment to thank my incredible Patreon supporters. Your support is truly the backbone of this channel. It's because of you that I'm able to keep creating these videos and diving deep into the fascinating world of physics with everyone. Your contributions make a real difference in helping me bring these concepts to life, and I'm so grateful to each of you for believing in this journey. And if anyone else is interested in supporting the channel and joining our Patreon community, you can check out the link in the description below. Together we can keep exploring the wonders of science and discovering even more amazing things. As always, thank you for watching, and until next time, stay curious.